So I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, because I haven't heard from her, so I'll follow up with her. But obviously, she's had stuff going on.
Okay.
Because yeah, as I say, I know Nancy definitely not here today. Cass definitely not here, and then it would be Kim and Charlie. So I'll follow up with them afterwards, but they can listen to the recording. So you guys are gonna have the benefit. I was saying, Jenny, you guys are gonna have the benefit of a nice small group, which
Okay.
basically means it becomes like a more of a private class. So you can kind of dive in and we can kind of address each one of your needs like on a more bespoke basis, which is good. Sorry about my typo last night. That was the end of me like that was like the end of an 11-hour day. Um,
Ooh.
so I knew what I meant to say. It just came out wrong when I was typing. So
We just want you to know that we're really paying attention.
yeah, you are paying attention. So yeah, both you before I even got Jenny's message, I'd already like hit the send button to say sorry for the typo, and then Jenny's one came in like I think you sent it like 1 minute before me. So anyway, repetition and pattern, interesting theme which we'll look at today. You all sent me photos who are here, which is great. I've got some other photos from some other people. Although interestingly, actually, I think you three maybe let's see. Yeah, that's why I need to chase up with Charlie and Kim because neither of them sent me pictures, and Kim's usually very good at sending stuff. So I'll check in with them after the class and see if they both said that they were enrolled in this next. So this is the beginning of our next session, as a reminder,
Okay.
our next six. So I just need to confirm their attendance, but I can do that myself. And if you happen to speak to any of them, Charlie or Kim, just let them know there was a lesson today. They may have missed it, but I'll send out the recording again. How did everyone get on with the assignment?
I thought it was fun. And you think, oh, that's such an easy thing, but that's a very interesting thing to think about it as within a photograph.
Yeah, and it's something that
What, how
occurred.
much of a pattern is a pattern? And I've had lots of questions about, is this a pattern or
Well, we can talk about that. But the interesting thing is that the repetition and pattern like occur pretty much everywhere, both in the man-made
exactly?
world and in the natural world. And as a reminder, like our job as like good photographers is to move from being documentarians, as in just like seeing something and just being like, oh, I'm going to take a picture of that because I want to document it. And I'm just looking out my window. The home next to me has a tiled roof and it's all repetition and pattern of tiles. I could just take a picture of that roof and just say, oh yeah, I'm taking a picture of that roof because I need to show someone the state of the roof. That's the snapshot. There's a really famous quote from a photographer called Matt Hardy that says, um, seeing and composing the beauty is what separates the snapshot from the photograph. And that's a big part of like obviously as a group, we're learning more and more of this technical stuff. We're learning some of the creative techniques you can do like in Lightroom afterwards or in Photoshop, but we're also learning stuff you can do on the camera. But ultimately, if you don't see it, then the picture is never going to be at the level that I'd like you to get to. I would argue 70, 80, 90% of good photography is a way of seeing. And you guys have all got fantastic eyes. You've got really good eyes. And that just the more you practice, the more you hone that. And interestingly, the other thing that, and you see this like when you look at GCA contests, and like you're sitting through or a presentation on any photos, is I would hope that we would all stand at the same place. And I said, hey guys, take a photo of this pond. And you'd all take completely different photos because you're all seeing it in a different way. You're all kind of honing your eye to what you like. Not, and I always tell this to people, I teach so many people, and they're like, do you think I should submit this? Do you think a judge would like it? And I'm like, don't do it because you think a judge would like it. Do it because you like it. It doesn't really
Exactly.
matter if a judge likes it because that's so subjective. You have to shoot what you see and you have to shoot what you like. That's ultimately how you go from that snapshot to like making photographs. You go from being a documentarian to being creative in every image that you take. That was just like a high level comment. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the
one of the questions.
continued conversation with people in garden club to don't do what you think is the judges are going to want. Really do make it be what you want it to be. And it's not about getting a whatever for it's so subjective anyway. So
Of course, and you could show a photo to 10 professional photographers, and I could say one thing, and another professional photographer is going to say
exactly.
another thing.
Yeah.
So, um, and ultimately, like what happens over time, and you guys are getting close to this point, is you would send me a picture or you'd show your friends a picture, and I would almost straight away be able to say, ah, that one's Susie's, that one's Joanne's, that one's Jenny's, because I kind of start to see how you see the world through the camera. The beauty is like the conduit of seeing through a camera allows us to see way more than the human eye can see. That's the whole point.
Mhm.
So if you think and there's a number of ways you can do that. Like we see at 1/100th of a second, about that in terms of how we register movement as we're walking around. So instantly some of you sent me some good pictures on this, we'll have a look. But instantly when you start to play with shutter speed, if you slow it down or if you speed it up, you're creating something that a human doesn't normally see. And again, that's interesting. The minute you go to a low perspective, there's like an ant's eye perspective, which is like when you put your camera right on the floor. But that's straight away becoming very interesting because it's something that we as humans, we usually see from like 5 foot to 6 feet up. When you change that perspective, you're going to make people look closer. So the kind of the holy grail in photography is to try to get something that is eye-catching, aesthetically pleasing. But a lot of it comes down to, can we look at the subject, whether that's a vase of flowers, a landscape, it doesn't matter, and can we show it in a way, and this is not always true, but can we show it in a way that the normal person doesn't stand there and see it? And to me, that really helps you go from kind of taking to making photographs. Although interestingly, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Have any of you guys ever heard of there's a group of photographers called the F-64s?
Mhm.
Mhm.
You heard of that?
Yeah, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, it's the F-64s, which like was basically founded by Ansel Adams. I'm gonna see if I can find some pictures here for you. I'll share this. Because this is kind of so this was like in like I just Googled it and get some images up. Okay, so this was like 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, and this
Mhm.
was the opposite in terms of, oh, this is a really cool place. I'll tell you about this in a minute. Um, but this was trying to get absolutely everything in focus. But I would argue that still is actually different to what our eyes see. Our eyes, when you look at a huge scene, our eyes, when you see the cabbage, don't see the light looking like this.
Mhm.
It's sharp as this. This is a famous photographer called Edward Weston,
Mhm.
who you've probably heard of. And his son is also a photographer called Cole Weston. Two very famous photographers based out in Carmel. This is a really interesting picture. You see this the whole time of a cabbage. This is just natural light. It's that Rembrandt light. Can you see my screen, by the way? Just making sure.
Hmm. Yes.
It's that Rembrandt lighting that we talked about to make it really interesting. Um, Coming over his shoulder, here's San Francisco. It's a really famous Ansel Adams picture before the Golden Gate Bridge was there. So that's the opening of the Golden Gate Bridge, but with no bridge. The bridge is now this is the Golden Gate Bridge here. Um, but this school of photography was like, we want to get everything razor sharp. F64. Your cameras, most of them can't even go up to F64. They were using like these like big kind of medium format cameras, hiking them up the hill, hiking them down the hill, um, but the aim being getting everything sharp. In like the 1950s, 60s, there was a whole school of photography that came out. I'm going a bit photography school on you guys, that rejected the F64s. That was like, actually, what happens if we don't put everything in detail? This is sometimes referred to as camera obscura, Obscura. And camera obscura, like those that followed that, started to play someone like Irving Penn, who I've shown you before, big proponent of that, where they started to play with focus and basically do the opposite of this. This is everything sharp. And they started to kind of reject that. And the truth is there's no right or wrong. I'm just showing you kind of how photography progressed as an art form. Um, Interesting actually to look at a picture like this for a second. Okay. This is really, really sharp from the front to the back. It's also got a lot of repetition and it's got a lot of pattern, as do a lot of, you'll see that a lot of these pictures, this, even the cabbage. But if I focus on this picture for a second, how do you think the photographer, or how, if you were taking this picture, I should say, how would you get it as sharp as this?
Higher f-stop,
Yeah.
high,
So how high can we put our f-stops on our camera?
16 to 22-ish.
Yeah, so the highest that you can all go on your digital cameras is 22. That's the maximum.
Mhm.
Susie, is
Mhm.
that a big hole or a small hole?
It's a tiny hole.
Teeny weeny hole. It's like the head of a pin. It's absolutely minute. So it lets in basically no light. So what do we got to do with the shutter speed?
Gonna be slow.
Make it really fast.
Okay, one of you says slow, one of you let fast. I'll let Jenny be. Jenny's going to be the judge. What do you reckon?
I think it's got to be really fast because, no, see, no, wait a minute, the other way, because you need more light. So you would have
Yeah.
to have a
Slow.
slower
You
shutter
got it.
speed.
Good.
Yeah.
So this would be a slow shutter speed. And this is actually like if we went and stood like by the Golden Gate Bridge today and it was in the middle of the day and you see all these people standing there with tripods, or you go to Yosemite or you go anywhere where lots of people are taking pictures, and you're like, why have all these people got tripods in the middle of the day and it's bright? It's because they want all the detail. They're shooting at f/22, which lets in basically no light. So they have to slow their shutter speed down to a level lower than what you can handhold the camera. So i.e. goes lower than 1/50th. So you'll frequently see like photographers in the middle of the day, landscape photographers shooting at like f/22, half a second, ISO 100. That's
I
like
was gonna
really.
say, what were the highest ISOs in those days?
Oh,
Not
well,
much.
no, not
Yeah.
much. But even today, like if I was taking like a big landscape picture of the Grand Canyon, my settings would be somewhere like that if there was nothing moving. Because I always want to keep my ISO as low as possible. The f/22 is a non-negotiable. The one that I can change in this instance is the shutter speed, and I just slow it down and slow it down and slow it down to where I need it to be. But to come back to this picture for a sec, if we took this picture at f/22 and we had our camera on a tripod and we slowed down the shutter speed, I don't think you would get it as sharp as this when you took the picture. It would be sharp, but I don't think it would be what we call tack sharp. I don't think it would be as sharp from here all the way into this. I don't even know what this is. Sometimes,
Artichoke. It's the
yeah,
inside of an artichoke.
yeah, I thought it was, yeah. So this artichoke is small, right? Not very big.
Hmm.
Okay, so do you think when we take a picture of it, we got to get close or we got to be far away?
I'm going to take a wild guess that it's a telephoto.
Yeah. So
And
it's a telephoto or it's a macro lens, both of which
yeah,
I was
have
gonna
a
say
higher
macro, yeah.
have a higher focal length. So let's just imagine it's
yeah.
105 millimeters. Hope that makes sense to all of you when I say that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. But zoomed in. What does this do to my f/22? What is the focal length? What is the increased focal length? What impact does that have on my
It's
aperture?
going to decrease depth of field.
You got it. Good, Jenny. So the higher this number, the higher the focal length equals decreased depth of field. Let me just jump to this for a sec so I can draw properly so you can see. So that's to say that if we were taking a picture, okay, and here's you guys taking a picture, and here's you taking a picture. If we were taking a picture, okay, and here's your frame, and this one you were at, oh, here's Kim, good. This one you were at 24 millimeters, okay, and this one you were at the 105 millimeters. but I'm going to say the settings are exactly the same for the picture. So both settings are, let's say, half a second, f22, ISO 100. And here's, I'll just pretend it's a flower. Here's our flower. Okay. This one at 24 millimeters at f22, almost the entirety of the frame will be in focus. The whole thing. Everything, including the flower, and almost everything in front, and everything behind. Just by increasing this focal length, increased focal length. As Jenny said, what's going to happen to the depth of field? Is it going to get skinnier or is it going to get bigger?
Smaller.
You good?
Smaller.
Yeah.
It's going to go smaller. It's going to go like this. It's going to get skinnier without me changing anything. I just have to appreciate that that's just the mechanics of how a camera works. So increased focal length decreases depth of field, and vice versa. Smaller focal length, and this is a wide angle. Just making sure the diagram's really clear. And this is more of a telephoto. Same is true if you just try, even if you take the picture on your iPhone and you switch between the, hold on, Susie, one sec. If you switch between the wide angle and the telephoto and you take the picture of the same subject, you're going to see way more blur behind the subject on the telephoto one than you are on the wide angle. And the wide angle is going to have more blur on it than the ultra wide angle one, which is going to have the least amount of blur and the most sharp in focus. Susie, you had a question.
So if you moved back farther with the telephoto, you'd get more in focus?
Correct, yeah. Because ultimately there's three things that dictate depth of field. One is the most obvious one that we all know, which is aperture. And I'm going to complete this diagram that's put over here. So we'll do depth of field. So one is aperture. Two is focal length. So these are the three main things that affect depth of field in photography. And the third one is distance from subject. And that's, Susie, to your point, if you step back, more is going to be in focus. You step closer, less is going to be in focus. Okay, so this, take a photo of that if you're not clear on that. I've kind of surmised the whole thing in that diagram. But again, you've got the recording to come back and have a look. Okay, Any questions on that? Okay, good. Let me go. So if I come back to this picture, right, which is how we started this conversation. And I said, I don't think if you were standing in front of this subject and you were f22, I don't think you'd get the whole thing as sharp as this, because you'd have to be zoomed in to fill the frame, unless you took a picture from way out and then you cropped it. But you'd have to be filling the frame, which means you have to be relatively close to something that's pretty small. And this happens a lot with macro lenses or telephoto lenses, that we struggle to get an image that is tacked sharp from front to back. The good news is there's a way around it. I just got to teach it to you. But the answer is not just going up to f22. Anyone got any ideas of how you do it? Okay, I'll tell you. So it's not easy if you I think I maybe brought this up to you guys a long time ago, but very quickly, didn't teach it to you in detail. So there's a technique in photography, digital photography primarily, called focus.
Stacking.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
You did teach it to us.
Yeah, I remember. But I'm going to go into more. I'm going to go into more detail on it now. I'm going to give you a refresher. Okay, so focus stacking, which Everyone gets confused with bracketing. Focus stacking, write this down. The definition of focus stacking is taking a number of different photos of the same subject and moving the plane of focus between each image. So that's to say, if here's me taking my picture, so it's taking a number of different photographs of the same thing where you move the plane of focus. And the way we move the plane of focus is very easy on a digital camera. It's just moving the focus square. So if I was taking a picture of this flower, I could take picture number 1 would be, I'd put my focus square. You always start front to back. So this would be image 1. This would be number 1. I'd keep everything the same. My camera's on a tripod, everything's the same. And then take another picture and I do image number 2. Then I'd move my square again and I take image number 3. It's very important when you try to do this that you work your way from front to back. So you start your focus stack with your focus square on the thing that is closest to the camera.
I thought you just said on number 1, you always start from the back.
No,
No.
the thing that's closest to the subject, closest to the camera, the front. So here, this is the front of your picture, and this is the back, and this is the back.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wrote it wrong.
no, don't worry. So you always go front to back.
So I wondered about that.
Okay. A common or a hard thing to appreciate, especially like even in something like this, is how three-dimensional this is. It's easy when you're in a landscape like this. Like this, you could focus stack and you would kind of just go 1, 2, 3. It's very clear that like you're moving from front to back. The other thing I should say just before I go back to the artichoke is obviously the bigger you set the F number, theoretically, the less pictures you have to take. Because if your plane of focus was kind of covering all of this in picture 1, all of this in picture 2, and all of this in picture 3, you get the whole thing in 3 pictures. If you were standing trying to shoot this landscape and you were f2.8 for some reason, you'd be taking like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd have to take loads to get the whole thing sharp. So the higher the F number, and theoretically, the lower the focal length, the less shots you have to take because the depth of field is bigger to begin with. But to come back, does that make sense? But to come back to kind of this, it's very hard to really appreciate and the same is very true when we look at flowers. It's very hard sometimes to appreciate what's close and what's far away from the camera. I always use the analogy, I like put my hands like this, right? You can kind of tell my hands are at different distances. Imagine you were taking a photo straight on of me like this. You can't really tell like what's the difference between this hand, my head, and my hand, and the right hand. If I go around this way, look at the difference. Look, if I'm photographing from over here, this one is obviously way, way closer. But when you look at it straight on, it's kind of hard to tell. And a lot of people find like that concept tricky. And so whenever I teach focus stacking, I always, because you have to do it on a tripod, because otherwise you can't move the focus square without shifting everything around, is if you're taking your picture and you're like, okay, I'm going to take my picture and here's me taking my picture of my flower here, looking at it straight on. I tell people, set it up on a tripod, get your composition, get your frame, then just walk away from the camera and look at it side on. Because when you look at it side on, it will immediately become apparent which parts of the flower are close to you. It's exactly the same as me doing this. And then that's you turning it and looking at it side on. And I see this done wrong so many times from people who haven't really just been able to grasp I mean, it's a simple concept. It's just what's close and what's further away, but it's just hard for us to see, especially with something like a flower where there's like petals going this way and petals going this way and all over the place. So walk around the composition to assess which parts of the subject are close and which parts of the subject are further away. And then in your mind, you know I'm going to start at the thing that's closest and I'm going to work my way back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other common mistake that people make is they'll be, and they don't, and people don't think about this, and I'll just use this landscape as an example, is they'll say, be like, okay, I want to focus this landscape. And they think they have to put the square, let's say square number 1 goes there. They think the square has to be like in a perfect straight line, like this, going back. That's not true. And often if you photograph a flower, you can't do that because even this artichoke, if I went back in a straight line, I'm going to miss stuff. So the closest thing here is like probably this. So that's where I do number 1. Then I'd come over here and I'd probably do number 2. Then I'd like come here and I'd do number 3. Then I'd probably be in here and do number 4. That makes sense. I'm working my way back. I'm like this, I'm going deeper and deeper into the artichoke. Then I'd probably go in here, number 5, and then I'd probably go in here, number 6. Now that looks really messy and confusing. And this takes some practice, but what I'm doing here is that's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. If I turn this around, this would be really obvious because it's just like I'm moving the square back.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people presume with focus stacking that you have to keep the square like in a nice linear line as you go back. Most of the time that actually doesn't work. So don't be afraid to move the square. Remember, all you're doing, it doesn't matter whether you're to the left, to the right, to the top, to the bottom. Every time you move the focus square and you refocus, focus is just all about distance from lens. You're saying to the camera, hey, instead of being 2 feet away, I now want you to focus 2.2 feet away. Now I want you to focus 2.6 feet away. Now I want you to photograph 3 feet away. Now 3.5 feet away. And the fun thing about this technique, let's put it up for flowers. Interesting. Hold on, let's do I'll show you this first. Whenever you see this, I probably showed you like the last time I spoke to you. Whenever you see like a picture of I don't know, a piece of jewelry like this, like it is impossible for a camera to take that picture in one shot. It would not get it. It would look like this.
Oh.
So in this case, what I do is I take one picture with my square here. Then I take one picture with my square on the back. And when I put them together, I end up with a really sharp picture. I've got a friend who's a jewelry photographer, really high-end jewelry and watch, and he'll sometimes take 200-300 pictures of the same ring, like diamond ring. He'll spend like 2 days photographing it with a teeny weeny. A good thing to do as well, especially if you're doing small things, is to make your focus square smaller, change the size of your focus square. And sometimes when you walk through airports, you see like, I don't know, a giant diamond ring or a giant watch, like on the billboards. Those are all heavily, heavily focus stacked, moving the square.
So on this bracelet, what f-stop would you use?
If I was doing this, 22.
Oh, you would do 22.
Yeah, but it wouldn't get it all in focus.
Right.
Because I'd be on a tripod, and if my shutter speed was 1/10 of a second, who cares? The bracelet's not moving. long as it's in a relatively bright environment. Most of the time, though, a lot of people will settle when they focus stack because, in truth, between like f8 and f13 gives you a pretty good depth of field. It's enough. Whereas f22 puts a lot of pressure on your camera because it lets in so little light. So when most people ask me, Adam, what's like my recommendation, like if I'm just beginning to get into the world of focus stacking and landscapes and for flowers, I say be somewhere between f8 and 13. You don't need to go all the way up to the f22. Take a look at that. And what's interesting, some of you may remember this from your film days, is you don't have to, I'll use this as a good example. You don't have to always go all the way to the back. That is a very nice focus stacked image. And the square, I would imagine, is 1 there. That's the closest thing to the camera. 2 somewhere here. 3 somewhere here. And then they stopped. They could have carried on and they could have gone back here and done another one and they could have done one on the background. But just because it's called focus stacking, it doesn't mean the whole picture has to be in focus. But to take a picture like this without focus stacking is very difficult. Very difficult. Not because of you, it's because of the limitation of just a camera and the lens. So you'll often see these and like, I don't know, like here's a big landscape. This is much easier to focus stack. But you can see everything from like the floor all the way to the mountains. Razor sharp. Look at this one. So this is what I mean when I say you have to appreciate the three-dimensionality, that's a word, the 3D-ness of the daffodil. So I've got to, if I walked around this, I'd be like, this bit is the bit that's closest to the camera. Then it's probably this bit. Then it's probably this bit. And then it's probably inside. And I would imagine that's like a four photo. And this says handheld. I would not recommend you handheld these. It's very difficult. The software has some pretty nifty ways of trying to line things up. But when we move the square, it's very easy to kind of go from here to here to here to here. So ideally, I would like you to do this on a tripod if you practice it. But it can give you some really, really neat results that, again, to come back to kind of the theme that I started today's class with, that sees more than our eyes see. We don't see this flower being this sharp. We don't see like this landscape with our eyes being this sharp. It's great for, I mean, I use this personally a lot for landscape photography, a lot. Because I blow my work up and I sell my work and I want it when it goes up on someone's wall or into a big commercial space, wherever my work's going to go. I want it to be really sharp from front to back. And the only way to really truly be able to do that is to focus stack. There's some neat things if you can play around with all of your individual cameras. Most of your cameras actually have auto focus stacking built into it.
That's interesting.
Where if you go into the menu, you choose the number of frames. You can look, I'm not going to go into each one of your cameras individually, but you can go into the menu and you can Google on your, or just look up your manual for your thing and just say, can I auto focus stack on my Canon, Nikon, Sony, whatever. And the camera will basically auto rotate, because what's actually happening, the mechanics of what's happening when you move the square is you have 2 rings on your lenses, right? One ring is a zoom lens and one ring is a focus lens. What's actually happening is the focus ring is just turning, take a shot, turning, take a shot, turning, take a shot. It's moving like a teeny bit. So I'm just rotating this. So I just like turn it, take a picture, turn it, take a picture, turn it, take a picture, turn it, take a picture. If you put it on auto, it does that, what I just did, automatically. And like I don't know if any of you remember, like on a film camera, you used to be able to buy these things called focus stop rings that would basically, they were like on a little timer, and they would auto rotate your focus ring to allow you to focus stack. You're on mute, Susie.
But how does it know which is closest, which is mid?
Great question. I don't like people using the auto one. I'd much rather you do it yourself. But the theory is that you set the focus, the manual focus, on the nearest thing. If you chose to use the auto one, you have to go into manual focus. You look through your camera, you set it on the smallest thing. Sorry, not the smallest thing, the closest thing. Then you start it, and then it just turns the ring, goes a little bit back, turns the ring, I should go this way, goes a little bit back, goes a little bit back, goes a little bit back, goes a little bit back. And like my camera, so I have like a pretty high-end Nikon, like a professional grade Nikon camera. I can like auto focus that with 500 pictures on my camera if I wanted to. I would not be able to notice a difference between all those 500 pictures when I look at them, but I could do it. It would be overkill in 99.99% of situations. Most of the time, for a good focus stack that's reasonable, you need something between 3 to 5 frames. Of course, you can do more, but most of the time, if you do more, you're not actually getting much benefit. And as I say, you can do this for anything. Food, flowers, like here's a focus stack picture of this. Actually, that's not a there's a photo stack. Like there's a good one. The camera could not take that in one shot. Impossible. You'd have some of them at the back that were soft, or some of them at the front that were soft. So you see this used a lot when people set up like still lifes like this, if they want everything. And like this would be really hard, not really hard, but this you'd really have to think about a scene like this, because the whole key is where's the things that are closest to the camera and where's the things that are furthest away. So you'd have to walk around this and you'd be like, these things are the closest things, maybe even the edge of the table, then those, then I don't know, then the nuts, then the end of the carrot, then the bowl. And you just work your way back until you got to this bread at the back. But remember, the bigger F number you start with, the less frames you need to take. And the lower focal length. If you're shooting with a more wide angle lens, you again don't need as many pictures because the frames aren't as compressed. So this is going to be something I want you guys to practice. This is going to be a good one. It's a good technique. I want to layer a Lightroom technique on top of this that's going to help you. Before I do that, does anyone have any questions on just this focus?
I get the concept, but I have absolutely no idea how to execute it. And I mean, what do I do? I mean, once I've taken these photographs.
Yeah, we haven't got that. We haven't got there yet. But once
I'm not doing auto.
No, you're not going to do auto. So at the moment, if I gave you like, how do we do this? Like DIY, well, not DIY, but like Adam's 5 tips of focus stack. First thing, set your camera up on a tripod. Second thing, get your composition. Frame your zoom, position yourself so the light's in the right place, frame your photograph is number 2. So 1, put it on a tripod. 2, get your composition. 3 is get your settings right. Lock in your shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO. Because I don't want those to change between each picture. In fact, you can't change them. You screw it up if you try and change it. So you lock in. Sorry, Joanne.
Shutter speed, aperture, and the
ISO.
Oh, ISO. Yeah, right. Okay.
And again, this is where people get confused, because if we're bracketing, as we take more pictures, the settings change. Notably, shutter speed gets slower and slower and slower. It lets in more and more light. In focus stacking, the settings stay exactly the same. Lots of people start to mess around and try to change the F number between pictures. It's a disaster. The computer's not going to like you when you go to eventually put them together. So we're locking in the settings. And once we've locked in the settings, we're then going to place our focus square on the first or the closest thing to the camera. If we want that to be in focus. Sometimes you actually want to keep blurriness at the front, and we're at the point at the closest thing that you want to be sharp in your picture, if that makes sense. Okay. Then you take your first picture. Then all you do is you proceed to move, you don't touch anything other than the focus square. And you move the focus square back in the frame to the next part of the subject that you want to be sharp. And then you just keep on going back and back and back until you get to the last point that you want to be sharp, and then you stop your focus stack. And that's how to execute it, Jenny, in camera.
So these are discrete photographs
Yeah.
that you just got these. Okay.
You'd end up with 5 photographs. Imagine I'm looking at the painting of the tree that you have behind you.
Yeah.
First one, I put my focus square on the bark that is closest to us. Then I
Yeah.
put it on the bark that's second closest to us, then third closest to us, and maybe it takes 4 pictures for me to get all the way to the back of the forest. A good tip actually to do before, depending where you are when you're doing this, but when you eventually come to look at them in Lightroom, it's very hard to distinguish where did my focus stack begin, where did my focus stack end, because they basically look all the same. If you zoom in, you'll be able to tell a difference, but it's very subtle. I usually tell people decide upon how many frames you're going to take. Let's just imagine I'm taking 3. 1, 2. Like, here's my 3 things. 1, 2, 3. And before you take the picture, remember you're going to be on a tripod, so it's easy. Before you take the picture, just hold 3 fingers up in front of your camera and take a picture of your 3 fingers. Or a lot of people will just like get a sticky note and they'll have a 3 or a 4 or a 5 and they'll just take a picture of the sticky note. Then they'll proceed to do the focus stack. It's purely for you when you look at them in Lightroom that you'd see a big 3 or a 4 or a 5. And then you'd know the next 5 photos are your focus stack. Otherwise, it can become really confusing. When you look at them afterwards, you're like, I can't remember. Did I do 4? Did I do 6? Did I do 2? You could try a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you could be like, actually, I'm going to try a 3. Then you just hold up a number 3. 1, 2, 3. That's a little professional photographer. Like in my camera bag, I have a little like a tiny little dry erase board, and I write when I focus stack. I always take a picture of it before I then photograph the landscape as a reminder to me. There it says 6, and now I know I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I count 6 more, and those are my focus stacks. Does that make sense?
Assuming you know exactly how many you're going to take.
Assuming, which you don't always know. But with experience, you get better at kind of figuring out how many you need and how many you're going to take. Okay, that's more of a Lightroom etiquette thing. And then imagine they come into Lightroom. Let me reshare my screen with you here. So imagine they come into Lightroom, and I'm just gonna imagine you had. So here's your pictures. Imagine you had like these were your 6. or these were your 5. So you'd have like a picture of a 5 or your 5 fingers here, and then you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I usually do for focus stacking is I give them a color label. So I'll highlight my focus stack, and then I'll, depending on what color you want, doesn't really matter. You can either hit number 6, that's going to turn them red. Number 7 is going to turn them yellow. Number 8 is going to turn them green. Number 9 is going to turn them blue. That's my focus stack. Then I'm like, oh, actually, the next one I did 3. I'm going to give that a color. And the next one I did 4, and I give that a color. And then that becomes really easy for you to be able to see. You put them in a collection called Focus Stacking Practice, and you can very quickly be able to see, there's my focus stack that I need to put together blue. There's my focus stack I need to put together red. There's my focus stack I need to put together yellow. Okay? All makes sense so far? Okay. Let me show you.
Why do they have F16 on cameras?
Why do they have it?
I mean, when you think about it, we were all taught, F4 is shallow depth of field, F16 or 22.
That's it. No, it's true.
It's true, I know.
If you stood and take a picture of a landscape, okay, let's just say this one. Look, you were only at F9, right? Whoever took this. And the majority of the landscape is actually in focus here because the thing is quite far away from you. Not perfect, but this is what I would call acceptable sharp. In photography, we have what's called acceptable sharp, and we have something called tact sharp, T-A-C-T. F22, like if this photo had been taken at F22, these boats in the background and the mountain would all be sharp, relatively, but there'd still be a fall off. The only way to be able to get completely tact sharp images, especially of small things, is to focus stack. So what you were taught is not wrong. Lower F number means shallower depth of field. Higher number means larger depth of field. It's just very hard, even at the very high F numbers, to get everything sharp.
Everything.
Okay. Let me push this on. Okay. So ignore these pictures for a time being. When you focus stack, it is sometimes, not always, but when you, especially if you're doing a still life or a flower or some food, it's sometimes nice to be able to see what you're doing, to be able to check your pictures, check your sharpness as you're taking them, to make sure that things are working as they're working. Now, of course, you can do that on the back of your camera, but it's hard because the back of your camera is really small, and it's hard to be able to accurately assess focus. But I'm going to very briefly introduce something here that I think would be beneficial in the long run, not just for focus stacking, but for lots of things. How many of you, if any of you, have ever heard of the word tethering?
No, not in
Heard of it, but
photography.
not in
For
photography
photography.
terms.
Yes, I have tethered. Yes, I have tethered.
Oh, hey, Kim. So what does tethering mean? So tethering means that you take a picture and that it instantly appears on your computer, on your laptop. Could be your iPad, could be your laptop. But it means as you're taking the picture, and this is how like someone like me, like a professional, like when I go and work for big brands and there's 20 people in the room and they say, Adam, we want you to photograph X, Y, or Z. I've got a whole load of people staring at a computer screen. And as I take the picture's going straight to the screen and they're checking it and saying, do they like it? Do we want to move the P an inch to the right, an inch to the left? Does the model need to move here? Do we need to change the light? It's very hard to assess that without tethering. So for you guys, it's a hugely helpful technique to help you really be able to be a little bit more creative, but also to check your work as you go along. And it used to be that to tether, you needed very expensive software. You needed to buy all this extra stuff. Now you can tether directly into Lightroom. So your pictures, you hook your, I'll tell you how to do it in a minute, I'll show you. You hook your camera up and the pictures come straight into Lightroom. In fact, it's got so good that Lightroom, you can now actually, my camera could be on the other side of the room over there, connected like to my computer, and I can change the shutter speed, aperture, ISO. I can even take the picture here from my computer without never going to my camera. Photographers use this a lot. If ever you see pictures where there's like a big top-down view, and it's like looking down on a still life, or because the camera may be mounted 6 feet in the air on a tripod or on like an arm. And the photographer doesn't want to have to keep on going up a ladder and looking through to make sure everything looks good. So instead they tether. So tethering is just the process. It's kind of like what you do when you shoot with your iPhone. Like when you shoot with your iPhone, you see what's happening. But this is even better because it comes up big on the screen. You just have a lot of control. I'm just going to quickly show you how to do it. So when you open, so if you're right, so tethering is the process of taking photos and then coming directly into your computer. So it basically eliminates the need for you to have to take out the card, put the card in your, like a reader, put it in your computer. It just goes straight to the computer. The question, I can't remember, are you all on, any of you on, well, it doesn't really matter because you can set it up, but how many of you are on laptops?
Me.
Okay, you've all, Joanne, did you put up your hand?
Laptop, yeah.
Okay, fine. So that's easy because you can just move your laptop to wherever you need to be. In fact, lots of companies sell these little laptop stands that people specifically use to help them tether. They'll set up the scene, they'll set up the camera, and then they'll put their computer on a little stand. B&H sell them, Adorama sell them. You can find them on Amazon. Just don't buy a really rubbish one I don't think you need it, but you want to make sure obviously your computer's sturdy. There's some rubbishy ones that exist. So how do we tether? Okay. So step number one, which I wasn't planning on showing you this today, but I can hopefully make this work. Step number one is you would get a wire like this. It came with your camera. Each one of you is going to be different. My camera is USB-C. So this bit goes into my camera, and the other bit, this is a tiny wire, but it doesn't matter, I'm just showing you. The other bit goes into the computer. In fact, if you get really into this and you enjoy it, there's one brand that I always recommend to everyone called, I'll just show you the case, you can see, called Tether Tools. And again, you can buy these on Amazon. And you don't need like a ridiculous 50-foot one. But basically, it just allows you to plug one end of it into it. Like, here we go, that shows you. So you plug one end into your camera, and you plug one end into your computer. And on your cameras, all of you will have like little compartments on the side. You may have to like peel away like a little bit of like material, a little bit of rubber. Be careful when you do that. Those are quite like gentle. You just want to do it very slowly. Hopefully you can see that I just peeled that back a little bit. And under there is a series of ports. Okay. To do this, the first step you do before you do anything, I'm going to list them in order, is you turn your camera off.
Off?
Off, correct. Step number one is turn your camera off. Step number two is you plug in with your camera off. You plug in one end of your cable into the camera and the other end into the computer. Most of you, your cameras will be USB-C. Plugs, this is called USB-C.
Okay.
And then most of your laptops, you're all on Macs, right? I know Nancy's not here, she's PC.
Yeah.
But most of your laptops are also going to have USB-C. So the cable is just a USB-C to a USB-C cable.
Okay.
Some of you may not have that. Older laptops just have something called USB, and then you have to have like the little converter. But I would imagine most of you would be USB-C to USB-C, especially if you're all on Apple. So we turn the camera off, we plug it in. And remember, the camera's on a tripod, so like we're not touching it. Like it's set up on the tripod next to our computer. We plug it in, plug it into the computer. We're then going to come into Lightroom. I'm actually going to see if I can do this at the same time so I can show you. Plug my camera in. I may have to go and get my other tethering cable. This one may not be long enough, but I'll try. So plug this in. So plug in this. I'm sorry, I'm just plugging it into my computer to show you. So plug in this. Okay. Then we're going to go into Lightroom. Okay. I'll do this nice and slowly. And then we're going to go at the top, we're going to go File. You have to be in the library to do this as well. Make sure you're in the library. Then we're going to go Tethered Capture.
Oh,
And we're going to hit Start Tethered Capture. Camera's still off. My camera's plugged in, but it's off.
okay.
Okay, this is going to pop up this called the Tethered Capture Settings box. And the first thing it's going to ask you for is something called a session name. This is just like the theme of your photo shoot. Let's just imagine I was doing Rose Focus Stack Practice 02 26.
Mm-hmm.
26. Okay. So you're going to name just whatever it is you're doing. Don't check this one saying segment photos by shots. This can make things confusing. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. But just make sure you name the session. The next thing is on all of yours, it's going to look like this when you come in. What do we want these photos to be called? What do we want the actual file names to be called? Lightroom's really good at handling all this like photo capture, organizational kind of stuff. And rather than it being called like image-0001, image-0002, I can actually make sure that every photo I take, I mean, I use this every day. Like, let's say I was working for Google, I would write Google Focus Stack product 02 26 20 thing, and I probably so I changed this to custom name. Oh look, there we are. I was working for Google. That's fine. So I change it here, and then in here I'm going to write Rose Focus Stack. Just put Adam Jacobs. You can do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. But that means in this session, you can think of a session as like, it's kind of how a recording artist would go in a studio and do a session, like recording a song. This session is just for that 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour you want to spend working on this thing. Then you're going to end that session and you're going to start a new one. It's kind of like my lesson is a session. But this is important. You name the session and then you name the custom text. Even better, actually, why don't we do custom name plus sequence? Because then it's going to call it Rose Focus Stack, Adam Jacobs Photography 1, 2, 3, 4 as I take more pictures. So you're going to make sure that this start number is at 1. Weirdly enough, Lightroom by default, a lot of the time the start number is at 100. Which is annoying because then the first picture you take.
What question?
Yeah, hi again.
I tend to do 001 or 01.
Yeah.
Don't need to do that there, or
Yeah, you can do whatever works for you.
I mean, I just put characters in front of it.
Yeah,
Works better.
exactly. Whatever like file extension works for you. Most people just stick a 1 there.
Well, but okay. So
Sure.
then But the zeros in front of it helps it stay uniform length and stuff, right?
What do you mean by unit? Well, sorry.
Well,
Not,
if you put 001,
yeah, it's not going to let me
then
do it. Oh, there we go, like that. Oh, you talk
yeah,
about because you always have three characters, so then when you get to
typically,
100,
yeah, you have 100 something photos. It just helps with the
yeah,
sorting. It keeps the sometimes it confuses numbers. Some things won't. They'll count the one ahead of the
yeah, it's not
12.
bad. It's not a bad
Yeah.
idea. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you could even do 0001 if you wanted to, if you knew you were going to
Right,
take
but I was
that.
just mentioning that
Yeah, it's a
too.
good point. It's a good point. But the important thing is that you name it, more important than anything, because it's likely that the tethering session you'll do is all going to be taking a picture of the same stuff.
Well, and that might be why it starts at 100 too, because it sort of leaves it
Yeah,
a same length. Yeah.
agreed. So let's put 001. Then an important question, which you guys usually do when you import from your camera, is you have to tell Lightroom where are the raw files going to go behind the scenes. Like when you normally import, it automatically like puts them in your
Yeah.
pictures and it
I
puts them in. So
One more comment about naming is I
yeah.
tend to put an underscore after the name, so it spaces out the number too.
Oh, you mean you just go like that?
Yeah, I do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, you've got a dash
But
up there.
you got a dash already. I
The dash
personally
is auto. Okay, so sorry.
I don't do that, Kim. I
Oh,
leave.
because I didn't realize it entered an auto dash because I do that with my exports. But okay.
Yeah, so unlike your export, it puts an auto dash, so it's not going to have the one right on top of the
Thank
word
you.
photography. Okay, Susie, you've got a question here. And this guys, once you've run to it, this you can take your time doing this. It looks a bit intimidating because it's a bit, we call it digitech in photography. But once you've kind of got the process, it's very easy. You're gonna name the session, name the files, where are they going to live? They're going to live in Lightroom, but remember, Lightroom is like going to a show. Lightroom is the front of house. Lightroom is the stage. We have to say, where are the raw files living in the background that Lightroom's looking at? And the easiest way to do this is you're going to go choose, and that's going to open up your computer structure folder like this. And we're going to go pictures. I don't know why mine are in a good order here. Here we go. And we're going to go 2026. I'm going to open it up. And then we're going to go new folder here. And I'm going to copy the way that Lightroom's already done things. And if I was doing it today, I do 2026 02 26. You with me? Because we're taking them on February the 26th. I go create.
Or whatever way you want to name your folder. Maybe
Whatever,
it's
anyway,
my
yeah,
focus
yeah,
stacking.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I would
Okay.
keep but Lightroom, the way that Lightroom is working for all of you, hopefully, is when it's importing photos, it's creating something that looks like this on the back end.
Okay.
If you suddenly create a folder and you call it focus stacking practice,
Okay.
on the back end, it's not really necessary because you never really go here. You just need Lightroom to know where to look. So I would advocate and recommend that you keep the same folder structure
Okay.
as Lightroom is already making. So I would hit new folder and I would just name this the date.
Okay.
In the same and now your Lightroom may be doing it the other way than me. Your Lightroom could be saying 0226 2026, just depends how you got it set up.
Okay.
But I would just copy this. So I'm gonna do it now. So I'm gonna do 2026 -02 -26. Oh, I already did it. And then you hit create. And then down here, there it is. Okay, but it's empty. Oh, it's not empty because
I've never put anything in pictures. I've always gone directly to Lightroom because I've got
but
my Apple is my pictures and
Me too.
hold up, but
So
what you guys don't realize, I bet you if you go into your computer and you go find the pictures, that Lightroom has made these folders for you behind the scenes. Maybe not if you're not doing things correctly, but Lightroom's putting your photos somewhere. Like when you import directly into Lightroom, the photos don't actually live in Lightroom. They live somewhere on the. I'm just gonna cancel this for 1 sec. I'm just gonna take a backtrack. If I go import, okay, this is how you normally import photos. This should look familiar to you. This is if I've plugged in my camera.
Mhm.
Okay. This is the source. This is your camera source. I'm going to come back to tethering in a sec. This is your source. This is how are they getting into Lightroom. And this is usually, I told you this a long time ago, but this should be on copy and it's coming in from your camera. Copy photos from the card to a new location. That's the behind the scenes place. And add them to catalog. That's putting them into Lightroom. And over here is called the destination. This is where this whole column here is called the destination column. Where are the photos actually going? It's like a flow chart. They're coming from the camera, they're getting copied. And what it should be on all of your computers is it should say Macintosh HD, users, Susie Titcombe, Adam Jacobs, Kim Bishop, / pictures. That should be on pictures. You can check it. It may be on yours that by accident it's on movies. That means all your pictures are going into your movies folder, which shouldn't be happening. It could be on desktop, which you definitely don't want happening. But this should be on pictures. You can check this, but I mean, I've never looked at each one of your Lightrooms individually, so you may not have this right. But Lightroom by default should do this for you. And I'm not going to get too lost in the import process right now, unless you guys have any questions. But
Right. And that's assuming you're importing like that typically.
Of course.
Just use my hard drive and put them
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, exactly. But the key is if you're putting it on your computer and you're putting it into pictures, down here, look, it says destination. And this is where kind of Lightroom does the magic and organizes everything for me. This box has to be checked.
What's it say? I can't.
It says into subfolder.
Oh, right.
If this folder is not checked, then behind the scenes, if I went into my pictures folder, I just see a list of thousands of photos unorganized. And I cannot tell you how many people come to me for Lightroom cleanup. And they've been doing it wrong for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I'll go into their pictures like this and I'll have a look and I'll open up their pictures and I'll see 20,000 photos just in a list. And the minute we move them, Lightroom freaks out, but I've got to clean them up. So this is a big thing that Lightroom does to help you stay. It doesn't matter that it puts it in a date. And lots of people say to me, well, hold on, Adam, if it puts it in a date, I don't remember when I went to Lake Tahoe. Was it June? Was it July? Was it the 27th? Was it the 26th? Who knows? It doesn't matter because you do all the organization on the front end in Lightroom, in collections and collection sets. This is just where the photos live behind the scenes. One sec, Susie. And you can see that because I've got it into subfolder and then by date, and then here's that format that we just saw. Year, month, day. Now, again, you can change this, but this is how 99.9% of people have their Lightroom set up. And this is how I always set people's Lightroom up when they ask for my help. What's the question, Susie?
I make a folder for each grouping of photos.
Right, and
Like
then
I
you
would,
and then you next, so like you said, I went to the Japanese garden. You'd make a folder for Japanese garden.
and I'd put the date.
Where do you make the folder? Do you do that from here in Lightroom or do you do it beforehand?
In Lightroom, I have a 20, I have every year. And then
Yeah.
inside every year, I have folders and I might have subfolders. So my question is, do I still check into subfolder even though I put it directly into a folder?
When you make that folder on your Mac, are you doing that before plugging in your camera?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I can still do it afterwards, yeah.
But then if you do it afterwards, the photos are going to go somewhere and then you have to move them into the folder.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
Lightroom's going to give you tons of these exclamation marks and it's going to say, hold on, I don't know where they are anymore. The file can't be
Okay.
found.
Usually I'll make it in advance then.
Yeah.
But do I still check subfolder?
Yeah, but I actually would argue, Susie, what you're doing is extra work that's not necessary because you're also organizing them in Lightroom, right? You're putting them in collections and collection sets in Lightroom I'd hope on the front end.
Yeah. I'm doing
Or
collections and folders,
yeah, which you don't really need to do. You can do it, but
Oh.
it's not necessary. The most
okay,
important thing is you're not running your Lightroom catalog. You can see here how I've got tons of collections and collection sets.
yes,
You don't want to be running your Lightroom catalog by looking at folders, by looking at this folders. Let me open them up. By looking at this and then clicking on the one that you've named focus stacking. This is a disaster. This in the long run will get you in a lot of trouble. So I always tell people to keep the folders thing completely closed when they're in Lightroom. You don't need to open it.
okay. We
Maybe
can
I've just
talk more
totally,
about that at a different time, because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a whole different subject. Yeah,
Yeah, and as I
okay,
say, I
thank you.
don't know. But that's Adobe, like I go and sit on tons of Adobe like workshops and talk to Adobe. Like this is how they recommend that you should be importing photos using Lightroom.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's also really important to make sure the distinction between folders and collections.
Yeah.
Because
yes,
collections have folders sort of in them, so people can get confused.
Well. Also, it's really annoying because a collection basically is a folder. It's just Lightroom's word for a folder.
It's a virtual tagging, basically, yeah.
Yeah, and you can think that the best way to kind of analogize a collection and a collection set, because those are the two main things that you can play with in Lightroom, is a collection set is like it's like a box file. It actually looks like a box. The symbol for it here, you see how these are all boxes,
And that
California.
collection set can be confusing with as a folder. People can think it's a folder because it looks like
Exactly.
a folder on
Yeah.
their icon.
Yeah, and you can see here, see how this looks like I don't know, let's just say I close lessons, okay? So you guys are all, so I have a collection set called lessons. That is like a filing cabinet, or like if ever you've gone out and bought one of those files that you can like
Yeah, it is an
expand.
office box filing cabinet look, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's meant to look like a box file. That's kind of the original design was like they want it to look one of those like
Isn't
old,
that clever?
old school box files that like someone would keep in their garage with all their files in it. So the collection set is the box file. The collections are like the hanging dividers that go inside the filing cabinet.
Okay, sorry to divert there, but yeah, that makes
No,
sense.
it's okay.
Okay,
It's really
back
good
to
for me to
folders.
clarify. It's
Back
really
to the
good.
manila folder.
No, but this is good to clarify for everyone. So in Lightroom, you primarily organize everything with collection sets. So here's my collection set, lessons. It's like my giant filing cabinet just for lessons. When I open it up, okay, I've got like tons of other filing cabinets for different people. And now I open GCA, that's a filing cabinet. And then I find you guys, which is like over here, and these are all my collections. Look at the difference in the icon. It looks more, I'll draw it for you. It's meant to look,
What is that icon supposed to be
it's
anyway?
meant to look like a divider, like a hanging,
Hanging folder.
like a
Ah,
hanging. For those of you who've got a filing cabinet and like you open your filing cabinet, the filing cabinet is the collection set. The hanging files you put inside, each one of those, we're like dropping photos into, I don't know, rows,
all
dropping photos into card. Yeah, it's all virtual.
yeah, it's weird. Okay, sorry.
And a nice way to think about it, Kim, and I'd mentioned this already, is I always say it, Lightroom is like imagining you're going to watch a show and the stage is Lightroom. It's like what you see on the front end, and it all works very nicely and smoothly. But you need to make sure everything behind the scenes is properly organized, because if it's not, the front of house, the show is a disaster.
No, I mean, I understand the difference, but it can confuse people
It's
when you're.
it's incredibly confusing.
Yeah, I've used my folders as my collection,
Yeah,
and
we don't want
it
to.
is confusing.
We definitely don't want to do that. And even it was so confusing that it used to be on the Lightroom app, the Lightroom mobile app. If you open that up, I think it actually still may be that they're not called, which is really stupid, and we give this feedback the whole time. If you try and organize things there, which I don't want you to do, that they are called, Apple calls them albums, Lightroom calls them folders.
Folder now.
Which is ridiculously confusing because it's the same program, and on the phone they call it folders, and on the computer they call it collections. So don't fall into that trap of getting confused. But the key thing, I'll come back to this import window. you can check this next time you bring in photos, and we'll come back to the tethering in a second, is you want to make sure that this is checked. Two main things here. I know it's going into the pictures up here, and I know that Lightroom, and this means if I took photos on 3 separate days, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, Lightroom will automatically segment them. It'll put all the pictures on the 26th in a folder behind the scenes, all the ones on the 27th, all the ones from the 28th. It will bring them into Lightroom, and then my job is to put them in collections and collection sets within Lightroom. I do all my organization in Lightroom. I never even look behind the scenes. I don't need to. I just let Lightroom do its work and let everything, which is why, Susie, what you're doing, there's a lot of redundant work there that you don't need to be doing. And I see that happen the whole time where people are messing with the folders and then they access the folder from Lightroom and then they try to move a photo and they don't realize they've moved a photo. Then they think they've lost the photo. Then they call me in a panic. And then I have to come in and I have to clean it all up. So it's good if we can get it right from the outset. Okay. That makes sense to everyone? Okay. So let me come back to
Find this photo, then since you haven't put it into a collection set,
then it
will it show under all photos?
It just lives in all photographs. It just lives in the mass of unorganized photography that I have, which again I don't really want. I want to make sure that everything is in an organized place. Oh, otherwise that is not showing as in a collection. What do I do? There we go. Okay, back to tethering. Oh, does anyone have any other questions on that import? Okay, so file, my camera's off and my camera's plugged in. File, tethered, start tethered capture. I'm going to just call it, oops, rows focus stacking again. I'm going to call this rows focus stacking. We can do 0, 0, 1. Okay, and then this is where we stopped. Where are they going? I have to put them in the right. At the moment, if I take these pictures straight from my camera, they're going to go into April 9th, 2024. I don't want them going there. That would be a disaster. I'd never be able to find them. So I have to choose. And again, now I go pictures. I go down. You can see how everything's really neatly organized. I go down to 2026. And most of the time, you're going to have to make a new folder. And you're going to make a new folder. And you're going to call it 226. I actually already had a 226 because I had a photo shoot earlier this morning. So that's why there's 2 there. Okay, but let's just say I'm going to put it in here. Choose. That now looks good to me. You're going to check. Should say your name, should say your pictures, should say today's date. So that's sorting stuff up, but behind the scenes, the back end. But Lightroom also helps me sort it out on the front end in Lightroom. Rather than me have to bring these in and then drag them into a collection, Lightroom can put them in the right place to begin with. If I check this box that says add to collection, and let's just go to GCA. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I'll just create a new one. So I'm going to create a collection. So you're going to hit add to collection, create a collection. I'm going to call it rows focus stacking practice. And then I'm going to say I want it to go inside PGC, which is what I have you guys under. Well, let's do it in something even easier. Let's put it in here, inside PGC. So this is on the front end. It's going to make that collection. It's going to save me the whole hassle of going to create collection set, putting something in. Create. Look down here. It should, it may not let me get there. No, it's not going to let me get there. It's one, it's good. It's going to be underneath this because it's in alphabetical order. Underneath there's going to be one that's called rows focus stacking. Okay. And then if I want to, I can add metadata. Remember we did that last time. Our copyright details that would be stamped on every photo that comes in from my camera. And again, if I want to, I can add keywords in. I could put rows, I could do map macro photography. I could put my name. I could put like wherever I am. I could do San Francisco. I could do the date. Like call it whatever I could do. I could call it focus stacking. Remember, these are invisible keywords. These are words that are stamped on the back of your photo. You don't really see them, but they're
But you
stamped.
see them in Lightroom when you're in keywords, right?
Yes, yeah. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying, like when you're flicking through your pictures,
Yeah,
common
yeah.
beginners especially think, oh, there's going to be like a little tag on the bottom of my picture. No, it's just it's a search tool for us.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to leave this up for a second. I'm just going to let me just go over it. And again, for the when you guys review the recording for those people who aren't here today. So 1 is we name the session. 2, we name the file. 3, we say where are the photos going. We choose where they're going, behind the scenes. 4, we add them to a collection. 5, if we want to, we add copyright. Okay. Now my camera's still off. Now we hit OK. It says detecting camera. Now I turn my camera on. This may not work. I may not have the right cable here, but I'll try. So I just turned my camera on. Let me see if it picks it up. If it doesn't pick it up, I'll show you another way. Wait, my camera. Oh, that's not very helpful. I plugged in a camera that didn't have a battery. Hold on. I was like, why is it not turning up?
Even he makes an error here and there.
It's okay. I got a backup here right next to me. Let me just try it. Let me try this again. Let's go instead. Okay, so if that happens and it doesn't pick up your camera, you actually have to start again. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to do the whole thing again. I'm going to ignore all this nonsense that's currently up on the screen. I'm going to go back to the top. I'm going to go File. I'm going to go Tethered Capture. I'm going to put in here. I'll just put, oops. Everything's the same. It remembers your last thing. Then I go, OK. Then I turn my camera on. Let's see if this works. And it sometimes takes 10 to 30 seconds for it to kick in. Depends on the cable. I could go and get my proper cable, but I don't think this works. No, it's not plugged in. It's going to work on this rubbish cable. Come on. Let's try once more. Hold on. No. Demonstration failed. Let me just cancel that for a sec. Let me show you, just to save time and save me running and getting my cable. So what it should look like is when you get to that point, it's going to look like this. So you're going to, oops. So you're going to have up here, you're going to have the name of your camera. That's an icon, but it doesn't matter. You're going to see this thing that says live, and you're going to see shutter speed, aperture, ISO. You can actually change them from here. You don't need to, but you can change them. And you're going to see this big gray button here, which if you want, is going to let you take the picture. Or you can take the picture from the camera. As you take a picture, it's going to feed straight into the collection that we've chosen. So it's going to add pictures. The more we take, the more pictures that are going to be in. But what's really cool is as you're bringing in the pictures, I've got a cable here I can grab. As you're bringing in the pictures, you can zoom in. The whole reason I'm showing you this is because of focus stacking. But you can zoom in and you can check the sharpness and you can do some developing. If you want to do developing, you can do it all while the camera is still tethered before you then take the next picture. So you can get everything looking perfect. You photograph your 50 pictures and you're like, okay, I'm done. Don't just unplug the cable and yank out the camera, because you can cause some serious damage to your camera, because sometimes there can be a power surge from the computer to the camera. It's very important so you'll see this and you can basically pick this thing up and you can move. It's just a bar, it's just a toolbar. And you can move it wherever you want. You just move it out of the way so you can see your pictures as you're taking them. And then all you have to do when you're finished, it's very important, it's kind of hard to see, but you're going to hit that big X up here. And that ends your tethering session. That takes you back to normal Lightroom. So you hit the X. I always say to people, then turn your camera off and then unplug the cable, because you don't really want the power running when you're plugging in the cables. Just good etiquette for the camera.
Will it give you any sort of sign that says it's safe to unplug now, or
No, there's no like eject thing like that comes up with a hard drive. The key is just end the tethering session. And then turn the camera off and then unplug the cable. And that brings you back full circle to the beginning of your tethering session. And then you can just start again, then you're just in normal Lightroom. Okay, does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
So that's,
In words, yes.
so you can go back. I'm gonna let me go all the way back from the beginning. I'm gonna quickly run through it as well. We'll like summarize. So step number 1 is you plug in your camera. No, actually, before you do that, step number 1 is turn the camera off. Step number 1 is turn the camera off. Step number 2 is plug in the camera, connect the camera and the computer. Step number 3 is come to Lightroom, go File, Tethered Capture, Start Tethered. Step number 4 is set up all this stuff that we just did. Step number 5 is hit OK and start shooting. Once it's plugged in, you can, and lots of people you can tether without having your camera on a tripod, as long as you're careful that you don't yank it out. Like I work in studios the whole time where I'm moving around and my camera's plugged in and people are looking, or I'm looking at a screen, or one of my assistants is looking at a screen to check sharpness, for example, or to check white balance, or to check exposure. It's just a lot easier to see on a screen than it is until waiting afterwards and realize I've made a mistake and then I can't go back and fix it. And then once you're done, you're going to come back to your screen that's got your tether screen here. You're going to take all your pictures. And ideally, the reason you're doing this is you're going to put your focus square here, then you're going to put your focus square here, then you're going to put your focus square here, then you're going to put your focus square here. You're going to stack. Then you're going to end the session with the X. And then you're going to turn the power off on your camera, turn your camera off, and then you're going to unplug the wire. And that's it. And you just, I guarantee you do this 2, 3, 4 times, it will be as quick as you currently are at importing photos when you do them from your camera. It's a really good Lightroom technique to know. And it's really cool because it never used to be in Lightroom. As I say, they used to have to pay quite a lot of money for third-party programs to allow us to tether.
Adam, you've kind of thrown a lot at us. Sorry, I've
Yeah.
called.
No,
And
no,
I'm
no,
wondering about
I
the
know.
photo stacking and the tethering, and whether I need to do both of those in order to just do the first part, which is to figure out photo stacking.
Yeah, it's a great question. So you don't have to. So focus stacking you can do. You can put your camera on a tripod, set everything up, and just move your focus square. The reason I'm encouraging, or I thought I'd show you tethering at the same time, is because the techniques are two separate things, but they dovetail nicely with each other. Because the reason we're focus stacking is allow us to like get this part in focus, get this part in focus, get this part in focus. What I don't want you to do is like set up a whole elaborate set and have a vase of flowers and spend 2 hours doing it, and then come back to the computer and you're like, darn, I missed the focus. My square was in the wrong place. So tethering is it's just a technique that allows us to check our work. Think of it that way. It's not essential. You don't have to do it. You can still very easily focus stack without doing it. But it may be like if I was thinking about how I was going to approach this over the next couple of weeks, if I was practicing Jenny, I'd probably do a few focus stacks not tethered just to get the concept of how it works. And then when I felt a little bit more confident, I'd be like, okay, now I understand it's very easy. I just set my settings and I move the square from front to back. Now, why don't I try doing one set tethered and see if I can get them coming straight into the computer, and I can zoom in and I can check them at the same time and I can see what's happening. Next lesson, I'll make sure I just don't want to run downstairs. I don't need to run downstairs. I'll make sure I have my tethering cable. So if you have any questions, I can show you that. But it's essentially, I've taken you the whole way. I just didn't show you the taking of the pictures. Anyone else got any questions on that? It's a lot. I've given you a lot today. You can sit back now, relax and look at some photos. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of technique. I'm pushing you guys to be much more advanced. So this is tethering is just a good thing to know. It's not a technique that is exclusively tied to focus stacking. I know people who tether landscape shots. I don't think you should do that. But they'll go and they'll set up a computer at the top of the Space Needle and they'll take a picture and they'll be having someone check the pictures as they're taking them on the screen to make sure they look good. The normal person doesn't do that, but a lot of professional photographers do. But where it's more of a kind of a consumer product, like more like accessible, is when you're doing stuff at home and you're setting up a still life, you're setting up a flower shot, you're setting up food, whatever it may be. It's quite nice to be able to tether and see what you're doing. A lot of studio photographers use it because it helps them see how when they move lights around, the difference it makes to a picture, and they see it straight away on the screen, rather than kind of trial and experiment and then wait till they plug in their camera when they get home. Okay? Cool. So that's going to be, let's look at your photos now. That I want to be your homework. So your homework is going to be a combination. It's just, we'll just call it focus stacking. Don't have to tether.
But Adam, I don't know what to do then if I've got my photos, my
Oh,
five photos. How do I stack them?
yeah. In terms of putting them together. Well, I was going to show you that the next time. I thought it was
Okay. But I mean, if that's the assignment, I don't know how to do it.
Well, you do. You know how to do the process. You just don't know how to put it together at the end, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Right.
You guys want me to show you that now? I can show you that now. I just
No,
don't.
I mean, I can look it up, but I just feel like, well, that's fine. I mean,
Okay, hold on. Well, let's.
I think we need to know how to do it. If we're gonna do
Okay,
it.
okay, fine. So if you guys want me to show that, then I didn't want to run out of time. Let me come back here. Okay, so let's imagine that this picture, I'm going to make 3 copies of it. If I don't get to looking at everyone's pictures, don't worry, I'll save them for next week. So we now have 3 pictures. Okay, and I'm going to put these in a new collection in here, and I'm going to call it focus stacks. Okay, here's my focus stacks. Okay, and I'm going to pretend that picture number one, and I'm just going to artificially do this, but it's pretty good already, and this is a good picture, whoever took this. But picture number one, the whole front, don't worry what I'm doing here. This, I'm just cheating it digitally. But I'm going to make sure the front is super sharp in number one. Number two, I'm going to make the middle super sharp. And number three, I'm going to make the things at the back really sharp. You following what I'm doing here? I'm just digitally cheating it. So I end up with 3 photos. Okay, this is my stack. 1, 2, 3. Okay, here's my 3 photos. This is photo number 1. Focus is at the front. It's like my focus square was here. This is photo number 2. My focus square was in the middle. And this is photo number 3. My focus square was on the back. You can see the difference. I just kind of cheated it here. If you look at the letters, you can see that that last one is much sharper. Okay. Let me show you how to put them together. So first of all, you're going to highlight all 3 in the first. So this is how to put together a focus stack if you're listening to the recording. So you're going to highlight however many photos you took. 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter. It's all the same. But you have to highlight all of them. Do that by left-clicking on the first one, holding Shift, and left-clicking on the last one. Then I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go down to Edit In. Oops, Edit In. And then usually we go here, we go to Photoshop. We're not going to do that in this case. This is a mistake people make. We're still going to go into Photoshop. We're just not going to go in this way. We're going to go all the way down to where it says Open as Layers in Photoshop. Okay. And we're going to hit Open. What this is going to do, this is going to open up Photoshop. Here we go. And it's going to open the photos, if you guys can see me, rather than side by side by side, which is what normally happens. It's going to open them one on top of the other, on top of the other. So it opens them as layers on top of each other, rather than individual photos next to each other. Okay, and these are my 3. These are, you can see down at the bottom, if you look down to the right, let me just down here, you can see Photoshop, everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yes.
Here's my layers, and there's 3 of them. Now they've all got the same name in this instance because I cheated it, but in your case, they'd all have different names. It would say rows stack 1, row stack 2, row stack 3. But it's very important you do that open as layers. Otherwise, they're going to open next to each other, which is no good to us. This takes out 90% of the work. Next step is I'm going to come down to the layers and I'm going to left click and highlight the top one. I want to highlight this top one, just a single left click. Okay, and then I'm going to hold, and remember you could have 2 here, you could have 4 here, you could have 5 here. This just represents the number of photos that you took in the stack. I'm going to click on the top one, I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to click on the bottom one. I'm going to highlight all of the layers. Okay. Once they're all highlighted, I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to hit on edit. And all the way about halfway down at the bottom, I'm going to click on this one that says auto align layers. What this is going to do is if there was any movement between the pictures when I took them, this is going to make sure that everything lines up. So when we push them together, it doesn't look like you took 3 separate photos. So you're going to press auto align layers and this box is going to come up. And keep life really simple and easy here. You're just going to make sure this is on auto, which it should be. Don't worry about all this stuff for the time being. Just keep it on auto. And then hit OK. Now this, because it's exactly the same picture, I just faked it. You're not going to see any movement. But sometimes when you do this, you're going to see like a little bit of white checkerboard appear, like in the corner, or the picture's going to suddenly look like it tilts or rotates. That's fine. Don't worry about it. It's just the camera compensating to make these 3 photos perfectly lined up. I'm saying if I've got a...
You would think the water would change slightly, but you probably can't tell it.
Well, not in this picture because I've literally, it would normally, but in this picture, remember, it's the same picture 3 times. I just copied it.
Oh, it's the same picture, right?
Yeah, so there's this one, there's nothing changed. But imagine I had 3 this is like 3 pictures, okay?
Right.
What sometimes happens is you take them and you take this one, and then you take this one, you take this one. It shouldn't happen, but they like get like one's this way, one's that. What we're essentially doing here is we are just lining them all up. They're like sitting perfectly on top of each other, rather than have like one at an angle, one at an angle, or something that moved. It's just auto aligning them.
Right.
They're a perfect stack. It's really important you do this before we actually put them together. Okay? This is really easy. Again, like once you do this a few times, it's really not difficult. You open it as layers in Photoshop, you select the layers, you go edit, auto align, and then you do exactly the same. You make sure that layers are still highlighted and you go edit again, and this time you go auto blend layers. This is the putting together. This is the actual putting together.
Oh, okay, then you go auto blend.
So you auto align first, which again, if you've been on a tripod, there shouldn't be any movement, but I always tell people to do it anyway, just in case. And then you hit on auto blend. And then you get this window. Blend method, panorama, or stack. We know we want to do stack images. It's focus stacking. That's the technique we're doing. You want to make sure that one's checked, not panorama. And then also I would definitely, these may not be checked for you by default, but I would check them once you do it once, like Photoshop will remember. Seamless tones and colors, content aware fill transparent areas. Okay. And then all you do is you hit OK. That blends them all together. Look at the difference. Did you see it? It went like ultra sharp. I kind of faked it, but it's now really focused that. And what happens is you end up on the right-hand side with an extra layer. So if you look down here, And again, you can go back and review the recording of this. So here's our original photos, pretending I took them, like number 1, number 2, number 3. And then I have a new layer on top. And the way you know you've done this properly is it will have the name of the photo, and then it will say in brackets, merged. Everyone with me? Okay. You actually can, I like doing this, but you can actually see where you can kind of see your focus stack. So it's taken that part from the top, that part from the middle, that part from the bottom, and put them all together.
Is that typical that it takes just the top and then the middle and the bottom?
Yeah, because do you remember I said what I faked here, what I did? I pretended I took, this was my first picture,
Oh,
square
right,
here.
okay.
This was my second picture, square here. This was my third picture. For a
Okay.
flower, something that's really three-dimensional, it would be different, like the way you see this. But this is actually a really easy example for me to show you, because the focus stack that occurred is that it took the sharpest part from the water at the beginning. Let's go this way. Or the sharpest part from the top, sharpest part from the middle, sharpest part from the bottom, and then it put them all together. So you want to make sure that the little eyes, you can play with them, but when it comes to actually getting this back into Lightroom, all these little eyes should be on, not off, like this. Otherwise, you'll end up bringing just half the photo in. So don't worry if you suddenly see this and you see loads of checkerboard. Don't freak out. It's just you hid the layer. Okay, makes sense so far?
Well, I've got to go back because in Lightroom, you're putting all three on the screen. And you made a point that we need to make sure we start with sequentially, with
Yeah.
closest to furthest away. Does it matter how we arrange all three of them on the screen initially?
Well, they should come out the camera with front to back. It should be that, and I did the same. If I go back to Lightroom, if I imagine these came out of my camera, this one, the square was at the front. This
Okay.
one, the square was in the middle, and this one, the square was at the back.
And remind me how I get all three
As in,
on the screen at the same time.
how do you highlight that? Oh, this could be a series of. I mean, I just made a collection, but this could be within. This doesn't have to be 3 on its own like this. This could be within like here. There we go, within here. So here's all the 3. It's like they came out your camera. You just select them from here. I just was making it easier by just getting rid of everything else.
All right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me get us back to that point. You right click, you go edit in, you go open as layers. That kicks you over into Photoshop. You select the layers. I'll do it again. I may not be able to do it here. Yeah, you select the layers. Watch how quick you can do it. You go edit, auto align. Okay. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. I didn't think it would let me do it because I've already done it. You go edit, auto align, and then you go edit, auto blend. That gets you to this point where you have theoretically your focus stack picture. Now all I have to do is get this back into Lightroom, which is the same as we always do. We're going to go layer, flatten image. And when I do that, actually, I'll just take a look at those layers on the right-hand side. When I watch what happens when I go layer, flatten image. Go layer, flatten image. When I hit it, they all smush into one another, which is what we want to happen. Okay, so layer, flatten image, and then file, save. or Command S, whichever you prefer. I save it. I close it. So here I'm just going to close it because I don't need it, or I can just close the whole of Photoshop. Doesn't really matter. And then I come back to Lightroom, and all of a sudden, I have a fourth photo in here. 1, 2, 3. Here's my new one. This is my photo. This is my ultra sharp focus stacked image. Edit.tiff. Okay, and that's it. So the key, the bit that I see that people make mistake on the whole time that screws people up when they do this, is when they select the 3 pictures, they go right click and they hit that.
Hit what?
They hit edit in Adobe Photoshop 2026.
Oh.
They don't go down here and go open as layers. As long as you remember to do that, everything else is easy.
I thought Joanne raised an interesting point. Like when I took this photograph of these boats, um, the water is a moving thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just by virtue of the water, each photograph that you're going to take will be different, right?
Yeah, the water will be in a different place, but it's only going to take the water from one of the photos. So you're not going to notice that change. It's only going to take the water from the one where you had the focus square on the water. By the time you got up and put the focus square on here, it's not even going to account for that. Well, I mean, it will account for it, but it's not going to be included in the photo, the final output. So it doesn't matter. That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just wondering, like how careful do you need to be to select? You're just selecting your focal point. How do you know how much of that dock it's going to get, or how much of on your third one the boats versus the
Yeah,
shadows?
that's kind of what we talked about at the beginning. It depends on what F number you're using. So if you're using if for some reason, which you wouldn't have to do here on the dock, like, well, you were at 5.6. Let's use what you were at. So you were at 5.6. So 5.6, we know covers things, but it doesn't get everything in focus. Just maybe like 30% of the frame. Then I know I need to go here. And this you kind of learn, Jenny, as you just practice. Then I know I need to do my second one here and my third one here. Like if I look at your original picture, I can see that like the sharpest part of this picture that when you took it was the dock here, like that. Like if I go up here, it's a teeny bit blurry. Not terrible, but it's out of focus up here. If I can, which I don't think matters in this picture. I think it works. I think it's a really good picture, but I'm just showing you, look at the difference in that one when I go to the top. And it's not perfect because I'm digitally recreating it, but I'll tell you, most of the time, you do not, for landscape stuff, you do not need more than 3 pictures. Just pull your way up through the frame as things get further away from you. That answer your question? Good. And
Yes.
the key to understand is like with the water, if there's water, it doesn't matter. Obviously, the water moves between the 3 pictures. If you took 50 pictures, the water would look different in all 50 of those pictures. But it's only going to take the water from one of those frames. So you're not going to see that movement. You're not going to notice the differentiation. The same happens in bracketing. If I had bracketed this picture like an HDR, and I'd taken 5 pictures at different exposures, it will only take the water from one of the pictures. Otherwise, the water would look a mess. It would be like different patterns and different lines in each one. Okay. So I'm going to get to these. Sorry, I didn't get to them today. But interesting that you guys did great. I don't want to spoil the party. I'll show them to you next time. But we'll review them and we'll review these new focus stacked pictures on our next class. And don't worry if you find this hard at the beginning. This is a brand new technique. Like I'm purposely pushing you to do something a little bit more advanced. Just experiment. Don't be hard on yourself. If you can't figure it out, if you're struggling, it doesn't matter. If you go to put them together and they don't put together, that usually means you did something wrong in the camera. Photoshop will often give you a prompt and it will say, cannot put these together because not adequate depth of field. They don't line up. Like there's loads of things that can go wrong. Um, but I'd really like you, if you can as well, if you have one of those, when I send the recording out, I'll send out a recommendation of that brand for the cables, just so you've got it. You may not need it. You've probably got a cable lying around at home. The camera comes with a cable. When you bought the camera, there's a cable that came with it that allows you to plug it into the camera. The problem is sometimes that cable is tiny. Like it's only like 10 inches and it doesn't give you enough to be able to put your camera on a tripod and on the computer. But you can buy the cable on Amazon. It's very inexpensive. You just got to buy the one that's right for your camera. Covered a lot today. A lot of technical stuff and a lot of theory. You guys feel confident that you can do this? Give it a go. We're gonna try. We're gonna try.
I had a new macro lens. I wanted to play around with it, and I ran outside and did it. And I was on a flower just because I wanted to do the stacking, and I just handheld,
Yeah.
and then just did a couple different focuses. And then Lightroom to Photoshop's so good at lining up the
Lining them up. Yeah. You can.
stacking that it was able to, and plus it was a little breezy, so your
Yeah.
thing's going to move anyway, even if you're not just handhelding. So
Yeah, the software is pretty good at lining them up, but I always teach by the textbook, and the textbook way is ideally take that movement out and have it on a tripod.
100%. But it was a lot of fun just seeing how well you could just improve a little bit like that.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it was.
So that's going to be your homework. I want you to send me a couple of examples, please. And we're seeing each other next on the 9th of March. So 2 weeks today.
Yeah. Can I ask so you also have an iPhone Lightroom class starting on the 10th, right?
Yes, for Seattle, organized by Charlie. Yeah, correct.
Yes. And so we're advertising that.
Oh, great. That was great.
Now. I heard there's a lot of people, maybe. Are you getting paid yet? Or
let me check.
You're having stuff come in, right?
I'll tell you right now because I've got it.
I haven't paid for it yet.
So at the moment on that class, I have only how many? No.
Yeah, but the class is going, right? It's
class. No. At the moment, I've only got the only person who has paid. I've only got one person who's paid.
55 a class still, right? Or
Correct.
110. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I'm waiting to hear back from Charlie and Catherine. I was using them as the main kind of organizers for that. I thought they were the right people. But yeah, at the moment, I've only got one attendee, Suzette.
Okay.
So yeah, anything if you need me to send it out to people or I can help. But yeah, or just CC me on anything you send out because then I can follow up with people.
So I'm doing the newsletter, which is going out tomorrow morning, and it's in there.
I think it needs to go out to the people who were in the class.
What?
I think it needs to go out to the class, not
send it out.
Charlie and Catherine, there were like 17 people on that previous class.
In yesterday's e-blast.
I saw it, but that's kind of like that's everybody. Right.
Yeah. I don't have the email list from that original class because Charlie I sent her the Zoom and she sent out the thing. So I can see if I can get hold of that from her, but let's see if I can find it here.
Oh yeah, this date's wrong. It says March 10th. It's supposed to be April 1st, right?
No, it's March 10th is the first one.
First one.
And April 1st is the second one.
Yeah, the first thing they sent out had March 1st. So I see that's a typo.
Ooh.
So I'm just looking here.
Yeah. I think I had March 1st.
So Catherine, no, March the 1st is incorrect.
Yeah, I'm just going to check and see though if we sent it out wrong.
I used a little demo I had of Carolyn Whittlesey in the news. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, of course.
Trying to Lightroom in your phone or whatever.
Yeah, and let me just. I'm going to see if I can find for you just while I've got you guys on the phone. Let's see.
Yeah, March 10th, and what's the second one?
April 1st.
April 1st. Okay, so I'm going to read you out some names here that made. So this is the original. Maybe I'll forward this on to you, Kim. You can have a look. But Charlie, Catherine Parker, Susie, Joanne. Some of these I don't even know who. McCoy Martin. I think that's Beverly Martin.
Beverly.
Yeah. Whittle C.
Carolyn.
Carolyn,
Christina
Carolyn
Coons,
Whittlesey.
Christina Coons, Eliza,
Davidson.
yeah, Davidson, Kim, Catherine Allen, Suzette, Mary Turner, Jenny, Cass, and Shan S. Hanover at Comcast.
Sandy Hanover. Neither Christina nor Sandy. I guess they must have just watched the recording.
Kim, I'm going to forward this on to you as well because I haven't. I want to make sure I get this out. I've only got one person at the moment. So obviously I can't run the class with one person. But I'll just forward you on the email.
I was going to say, do you have their emails? I could probably send them to you.
Yeah, no, I've got them all here. So it's just a case.
Okay.
Do you want me to send out an email to everyone, or is it better?
Let's check with Charlie if there's. I don't want to supersede her plan.
I just forwarded you the email addresses just so you got
Okay,
them.
because it's been going around. It's a little weird language. It's
Yeah, I think it's confusing.
You can stop the recording, but or if you want to listen to it, it says it's just you're offering an iPhone class. Some of us signed up for it, took last month. You'll be focused